Welcome back to another Genshin Interact video. Let us know down in the comments if this guide was helpful or if you have any other tips about Baizhu. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future content. Thank you for watching, now on to the video.
Owner of Boo Boo Pharmacy and Chi-Chi's guardian, Baizhu, makes his first appearance in the game as a playable character. Being a shielder, healer, and Dendro applier, everyone is looking to get their hands on the next Dendro 5-star. Now let's take a quick look at Baizhu's talents, which ones to level, and how you should level them. First, you should level into his burst talent. When using his burst, Baizhu immediately enters the pulsing clarity state and creates a seamless shield. While in this state, Baizhu will break, then create a new seamless shield every 2.5 seconds. While switching to a new shield, the shield heals the active character. The seamless shield also sends out a Dendro attack called Spirit Veins when a new seamless shield is generated, when the shield's duration expires, and when the shield is broken. The next talent that should be leveled is his skill. Baizhu sends a Gossamer sprite that attacks opponents with Dendro damage. After hitting up to 3 opponents, or hitting none at all, the sprite returns and heals all nearby party members based off of Baiju's max HP. This skill is going to be good Dendro application for reactions as well as good instances of healing mid-fight while you are waiting for other characters' skills and burst to be off cooldown. The last talent is Baiju's normal attack. Since Baizhu does not seem to gain anything from doing too much damage from his normal attacks, this talent should not be leveled at all unless you are going into a damage build. Keep this talent at level 1 unless you're trying to get his normal attack for extra Dendro application. If you want to crown Baiju's talents, crown his burst, then his skill only. His burst will be more useful to you. So if you want to only use one crown or level one of the talents higher than the other, go for his burst talent. The recommended levels for Baiju's talents is level 8 for his burst and skill, and level 1 with his normal attacks. Make all 3 level 8 if you are trying to focus on a Baizhu damage build. By leveling his burst, you are increasing the amount of healing and shield absorption, and leveling his skill increases his kit's healing as well, while the normal attacks is specifically only for Baizhu damage.
Looking beyond talents, let's look at Baiju's passives. Baiju's first passive talent gives him different effects according to the current HP of your active character. When their HP is less than 50%, Baizhu will gain a 20% healing bonus. When their HP is equal to or more than 50%, he will gain a 25% Dendro damage bonus. The next passive talent occurs when one of Baiju's seamless shields is active. When one of his seamless shield heals a character, that character will gain the Year of Verdant Favor effect. While under this effect, every 1000 max health points that Baizhu possesses below 50,000 will increase the Burning, Bloom, Hyper Bloom, and Virgin reaction damage dealt by these characters by 2%, while the Aggravate and Spread reaction damage dealt by these characters will be increased by 0.8%. This effect will last for 6 seconds. Beyond passive talents, Baizhu can use a few select artifact sets. These are in no particular order, but depend on how you want your Baizhu to perform. First is Deepwood Memories. This set is very necessary if you are running a team that capitalizes on Dendro damage output. In other words, you will want to use this set above all other sets to increase Spread, Bloom, Hyper Bloom, and Virgin damage, since these reactions all deal Dendro damage. The 2-piece set will give a 15% Dendro damage bonus, and the 4-piece effect decreases enemies' Dendro resistance by 30% for 8 seconds after elemental skills or bursts hit enemies. This set will allow your Alhaitham or Tighnari, for example, to sit on their favored damage sets instead of having to run Deepwood themselves. If you have another character on your team running this 4-piece set, you do not have to run this set on Baizhu since the effect does not stack. Another 4-piece set for him, though, is Noblesse Oblige. The 2-piece set will increase elemental burst damage by 20%, and the 4-piece effect increases attack by 20% for 12 seconds when using an elemental burst. Since this 4-piece effect cannot stack, just like Deepwood, you won't need to run this set on Baizhu if someone else is already using it. That being said, there are some other options to look at if you find yourself already using those 2 sets in your team. 4-piece Ocean Hued Clam, for example, is better for Baiju's personal damage, while running a combination of some 2-piece sets will be better for his healing capabilities. The 2-piece sets to use in this case are 2-piece HP percent sets like Tenacity and Vorokasha's Glow, 2-piece healing bonus sets like Ocean Hued Clam and Maiden Beloved, or throwing on a 2-piece Emblem of Severed Fate for extra energy recharge to get his burst back, which is especially important since his kit relies heavily on his burst. Of course, if you already have sufficient energy recharge on Baizhu and you think you don't need any more, then running HP percent or healing bonus 2-piece sets will balance your Baizhu a bit better. Okay, so now moving on to artifact stats. If your Baizhu is built for healing, he should run an energy recharge stance, HP percent goblet, and HP percent circlet. This will help maximize his healing from both his skill and burst, as well as maximize his support from his second passive. The energy recharge is necessary to get his burst back on cooldown, but you can also use HP percent on your sands if you are using an energy recharge weapon, for example. The important thing is that you balance his energy needs with his healing potential to make him a balanced support for your team. Also, his healing is very good, so that is just something to keep in mind. Substats to look for are energy recharge and HP percent. If Baizhu is being built for personal damage, he should have an energy recharge or attack percent sands to help with damage and his burst to come back to help with the 4-piece ocean-hued clam. His goblet should be Dendro damage bonus to stack with his first passive talent. Finally, his circlet should be either crit rate or crit damage. The substats to look for here are energy recharge, HP percent, attack percent, both crit rate and crit damage, and elemental mastery. Whether your Baizhu is built for support or healing, he seems to be a very fun Dendro support that can have many different uses for your account.
Although artifact sets and artifact stats are very important, the next major part of a character's build is their weapon. The weapon does depend on if you are building Baizhu for damage or support. First, we'll discuss what weapons will help his supportive capabilities. Starting with his 5-star signature weapon, Jadefall Splendor. This weapon gives 49.6% HP at level 90. When using an elemental burst or creating a shield, you will gain 3 seconds of the Primordial Jade Regalia effect. This effect increases the wearer's elemental damage type bonus by 0.3% for every 1000 max HP the character has. The max elemental damage bonus you can receive from this is 12%. This means Baizhu can have up to 40,000 max HP to max out the effect. Alongside the elemental damage bonus, the character will regain 4 energy every 2.5 seconds from this effect as well. The Primordial Jade Regalia effect can still occur even if the wearer is off-field. Another weapon for support Baizhu is Prototype Amber. This weapon increases HP by 41.3%. This weapon generates 4 energy every 2 seconds for 6 seconds when using an elemental burst. Also during this rotation, all party members will heal 4% HP every 2 seconds. The last support weapon for Baizhu is Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayers. This weapon increases HP by 35.2% at level 90. This weapon's ability states that when switching characters, the next character that switches on field will have their attack increased by 24% for 10 seconds. This ability can only trigger once every 20 seconds. If we're looking at Baizhu for personal damage, his weapons take a different turn. A lot of the 5-stars can make Baizhu do lots of damage. The 5-stars can range from crit weapons that flesh out personal damage to elemental mastery 5-stars that help with a ton of reaction damage with bloom and other Dendro related reactions to HP main stat 5-stars that max out his healing. Tula's Remembrance, 1,000 Floating Dreams, Kagura's Verity, and Skyward Atlas are just some of the 5-stars that can work amazingly on Baizhu. 4-stars for damage can be any crit, elemental mastery, and even attack percent catalyst since all of them will help Baizhu with his personal damage. Some examples of these are Widsith, Solar Pearl, Sacrificial Fragments, and even Eye of Perception. Baizhu can be molded to fit both the support role and even a damage role if you so please. Because of this, it allows him to use virtually any of the 5 and 4-star catalysts that are out right now. Obviously, his personal weapon will be best for healing, but when it comes to damage, arguments can be made about any damage 5-star, so have fun with matching different weapons and testing it all out. I'll be using a few different catalysts myself in the gameplay to really get a feel behind how flexible he is in the weapon category.
After weapons, we take a look at Baiju's Constellations. His first constellation gives an extra charge of his skill, which can allow him to get more out of a 4-piece ocean-hued clam set, more healing, and even more particles to get his burst back. Also, because of this constellation, this may allow you to run an HP percent or attack percent sands for either the healing or damage builds, since this will help with particle regeneration. Baiju's second constellation releases a Gossamer Sprite, Splice, when the active character hits a nearby opponent. This Splice attack will attack an enemy before returning to the active character and will deal 250% of Baiju's attack as Dendro damage and will heal for 20% of his skill's normal healing. This damage is considered elemental skill damage and can be triggered once every 5 seconds. Baiju's constellations allow him to get progressively more and more application and damage out on the field. You can think of this as the way Yelan or Xingqiu's burst works, except that this will be procced by simply hitting enemies, which means you don't have to worry about normal attacking as seen with Yelan and Xingqiu. His third and fifth constellation increased burst then skill talents by 3 respectively. The fourth constellation increases all party members' elemental mastery by 80 for 15 seconds after using his burst. With these constellations, Baizhu gains more damage and more supportive capabilities for his teammates. His sixth constellation increases his burst spirit vein damage by 8% of his max HP. When his skills Sprite and second constellation's Sprite Splice hits opponents, you will generate a seamless shield. The creating of the seamless shield from this constellation can only be triggered once by either his skills Sprite or the Sprite Splice. Although Baiju's Constellations are really good, they may not be worth the pulse. If you are going for, or are thinking of going for Constellations, we do think that his second Constellation is very good for passive damage and healing throughout your rotations, since it can be triggered if Baizhu is on or off field. Knowing this, we believe his second Constellation is the best. That being said, Baizhu is an outstanding Dendro support and can even output good damage at Constellation 0.
Following Constellations, we need to figure out where Baizhu can fit on different teams. Because of Baiju's compatibility with all Dendro-related teams, he can fit practically on any team revolving it. The gameplay will be showcasing 3 teams with Baizhu taking a bit of a different role in each. The first team is a spread team with Baizhu as a support. The team for the gameplay, and therefore the team we'll use as a template, is Alhaitham, Yaemiko, Kuki, and Baizhu. Alhaitham will be your main driver of damage. Yaemiko will be putting a lot of electro damage and application out on the field. Kuki, who is on an elemental mastery build, will also be a great electro applier with some nice off-field healing and damage. Finally, Baizhu plays an important role of constant Dendro application when Alhaitham is off his Dendro infusion. Between Kuki and Baizhu, you shouldn't be losing a lot of HP, which will allow Baiju's second passive to give him more Dendro damage bonus instead of a boost in healing bonus. Nahida, Tighnari, and if you really want to use him, Kaveh are good Dendro characters to use in place of Alhaitham. Kaveh's whole kit does focus on Bloom and sub-reactions of Bloom. So it's not to say that Kaveh can't work on a spread team, it's just that he doesn't get to max out on his kit on this team like Nahida or Tighnari would. Electro characters to use instead of Yaemiko and or Kuki are Beidou, Fischl, Lisa, and Raiden for her skill.
Another team Baizhu works well on is a Hyperbloom team. The gameplay will showcase Baizhu using a supportive build on this team, which works well, but you could also run him more on damage even if the Electro character is the focus of this team. The team we'll start with is Baizhu, Kuki, Yelan, and Xingqiu. There are definitely better teams and ways to run it, but as long as you have Dendro, Electro, and Hydro, you're all set. We know that running double Dendro over double Hydro can be better since the Dendro resonance will help the Hyperbloom numbers more, but we want to showcase Baiju's Dendro application here. That being said, double Dendro is probably the way to go since Dendro resonance will increase elemental mastery for reactions, especially those big Hyperbloom numbers. Kuki, or the Electro Hyperbloom character, should run a heavy elemental mastery set to maximize the Hyperbloom numbers she will create, while the Hydro character or characters can create enough cores for the Electro character to Hyperbloom off of. Electro characters to run are off-field Raiden for her skill, or catching on-field with double Dendro to have enough Dendro to create cores. You could also run a Cyno since his kit already has him depend on a lot of elemental mastery. If you need an extra Dendro character on the team because you think Baiju's application isn't quite enough, you could also run Nahida, Yao Yao, Kale, or Dendro Traveler to increase Dendro application on the field. Also remember that in this team, you will definitely want to be sure that someone on the team has Deepwood Memories equipped, as this will greatly help Hyperbloom damage since it is after all considered Dendro damage.
Finally, we talk about teams when Baizhu is built on damage. There are a few ways to showcase Baiju's damage ability. Usually a spread or bloom team show the most promise since it will show Baiju's huge numbers, if built right for each reaction that is. Spread generally needs a DPS character built for straight damage with elemental mastery as a supporting factor. Bloom is more dedicated to high level characters and high elemental mastery since these two things are what Bloom bases its damage off of. Hyperbloom and Burgeon are going to showcase the Electro or Pyro character on the team, since these reactions depend on the Electro and Pyro character's elemental mastery, not the Dendro character. The showcase will have a spread team with Baizhu as the main damage dealer. Baizhu will be accompanied by Yaemiko, Kuki, and Yao Yao. This team is quite similar to the spread team I used with Baizhu as a support. I simply switched Alhaitham for Baizhu as the DPS, then put Yao Yao as a support and fourth character. In a perfect world, you would want Nahida helping Baizhu in this instance, since she'll give him more elemental mastery, which will spike that spread damage. But I do not have her. Characters like Beidou and Fischl are also really good Electro units to have besides Baizhu, since they help a lot with Electro application. Lastly, there is a Burning team. There won't be a part in the showcase on this team, but it could be viable depending on the characters you have. I have tried it personally, and I am not personally too much of a fan of it. That being said, Burning can work well with damaged Baizhu, Nahida, Dendro Traveler, and Bennett. You really only need to apply Pyro once, then have the rest of the Dendro characters apply Dendro consistently. Think of it as constantly throwing leaves on a fire. Burning can stay applied indefinitely if the Dendro application is there. If you have enough Dendro application, you could always throw on a Viridescent Venerer user like Kazuha, Sucrose, or Jean instead of the third Dendro character. This fourth character will swirl the Pyro, making the burning numbers higher since the Viridescent set decreases elemental resistance to the element the wearer swirls. Baizhu is very flexible, and we only talked about a very small amount of teams that Baizhu could possibly fit on. He is such a fun character that I'm sure you'll love to throw him around in different teams to see what he can really do. Now to the gameplay. The spread team I will be using consists of Alhaitham, Yaemiko, Kuki, and Baizhu. Alhaitham has his weapon, with just south of 1400 attack and a crit of 62 over 187. Yaemiko is sitting just south of 2000 attack, running Solar Pearl, and has a crit of 75 over 178. Kuki is built with a mix of mostly elemental mastery and some HP for healing. Baizhu sits at over 41,000 HP, just under 180 energy recharge, using Prototype Amber with a 4-piece Deepwood memory set built for support. The next team is the Hyperbloom team. This team has Baizhu, Yelan, Kuki, and Xingqiu. Baizhu is built in the same support build since we are showing his Dendro application to help Kuki Hyperbloom. Yelan has over 33,000 HP with over 180 energy recharge in Fading Twilight, while Xingqiu sits at an energy recharge peaking over 218% with a Refinement 5 Sacrificial Sword. The last team will be a Baizhu spread team. Baizhu takes the reins as the DPS with a level 90 Tule Tule's Remembrance, over 23,000 HP, 407 Elemental Mastery, a 4-piece Deepwood memory set with a crit of 58 over 143. All of Baiju's talents say the same for each team. His talents are level 1 normal attacks, level 8 skill and burst. I will likely be getting his normal attacks to 6 or 8, and his skill and burst to level 9 in the future, but I was pleasantly surprised the damage Baizhu can put out with a low normal attack talent. Enough of me rambling on. Enjoy the gameplay. We hope the gameplay cleared some things up for you if you were confused or are more of a visual person. If you have any extra tips or tricks you know or use with your own Baizhu, please go ahead and let us know down in the comments, as well as any questions you might still have for us about him. Thank you again, and we'll see you in the next one.